Peace, this is Raul Castro. Today is the World News Update for the month of June. Alright? How's everybody feeling out there? I hope you, ladies and gentlemen, are doing great. You're feeling well and you're enjoying the weather this time of year. It is almost Memorial Day. This is the Memorial Day special for America's 250-year anniversary. I have my America hat on. It's actually a trucker cap I just picked up recently. It's probably like one of the best finds I've recently had. So yeah, I just want to get into this update here at the precipice of the new season up ahead. Lots of sunshine, lots of light codes coming in from the Galactic Center, lots of amazingness happening here on the surface of the planet Earth, and the basis is freedom. The basis is sovereignty and individuality and being yourself in your own right of existence. For those who watch this, I don't want to like misconstrue or confuse or distort anybody into thinking that this is some type of America block, America all day. It's not what it is. What these global updates are about getting into your heart and viewing the world events and understanding for yourself what's actually going on. Because what's actually going on is the ascended masters, the angels, our higher selves, utilizing the new age that hit back in 2012, the new age of Aquarius, into ignition. It's now igniting, and those events are now playing out here in 2026. Freedom is happening. Transmutation is happening. The world is changing. We're going into a new free age. Okay, so get ready. It's here. It's taking place. This is really the new start of a new paradigm of a new world. All right, so let's get started with the world events here. So as I'm filming this, it's like May 17th or something. So like what's recently just happened is the China visit. The United States went over to China and they're talking about a lot of things, and China has been big in the optics recently. So China, as you know, is a communist state who is a major superpower in the world. They probably have the biggest population in the entire world. They are a huge manufacturer of many global goods and commodities and necessities that are used worldwide in the global economy. And they have one of the longest reigning, and they have one of the longest standing cultures that openly has history recorded as a standing empire. It's about 5,000 years old. So China is a major power, even though they are communist and they, basically are a step away from totalitarianism. They really do have a major significance in the world today. China is a very unique place. They have tons of culture, tons of legendary temple spaces and shrines and sacred sites, and a lot of amazing in-depth history. And they do a lot of honoring that history. Yet right now, as of like the latest of the 5,000 years, there's a communist regime that, honors that, but they also cover up a lot of stuff. They also do a lot of things that aren't good for their people. They also do things that aren't good for neighboring countries like the United States. So recently, China has been on their communist shenanigans. So if China had a major hand in COVID. Uh, the deep state was working with China to release COVID intentionally from a lab in Wuhan. If you don't know, you should know that COVID was released deliberately by the Biden administration and by the communist deep state China organization, who then spread it intentionally. Because when have you ever seen a virus go from one edge of the globe to the next in 24 hours? And it's spreading, oh my God, it's spreading, get your mask on. It's just like, it was intentionally released, it was obvious. So, China had a big hand in that. And recently they just found a mayor in California who was intentionally spying for China's behalf. She was intentionally pushing the narrative of Chinese propaganda as communist propaganda, and she was then taken out of office and she's being arrested and prosecuted now. So that's kind of just like the gist of what's happening regarding China, because recently there's been a lot of positive things happening with China, which is good. Yet we should all know what China is also capable of. They have a lot of their other hands in other baskets, deliberately underhanding and doing other things while the world is watching these optics. When Trump goes over to China and he's talking to Xi, and they're making amazing deals and doing all these amazing things. So all these amazing things did happen, and they're great for America, and that's how a leader is supposed to deal with a state like that. So when Trump went over to China, they were greeted with a very honorable and respectful welcoming. Trump walks in and he brings a lot of his administration with him, including the head of, I think it was NVIDIA, and he also brought Elon Musk and other heads of corporations to talk about business. So when they get there, they're speaking and they're talking, and there's a couple big things that happened in result of meeting with China. First off, she said that anything the United States needs, they will provide it to deal with Iran, which is unprecedented. It's also a very nice thing for Xi to say, because he's actually been providing funding to Iran for profit. So, it's like give and take with this guy. He's always gonna say the right thing when the cameras are on, when the world's watching, but he's always gonna be doing something else, for his communist reasons, unfortunately. So he did say, oh yeah, we'll help the United States, but one thing that Trump has always said, we don't need China's help on Iran, because China's been helping Iran the entire time. So why would you want or even need China's help when they're going to be doing the opposite thing when you ask them to help? So it was nice that Xi said that he was going to help America deal with Iran, because right now Iran is like a wounded animal. It's like a wounded beast, as the exiled crown prince said. It's like, there's a lot of things happening in Iran that need to be addressed, and they need to be sorted out and handled for the sake of everybody. Okay? So, and the big thing about Iran not being able to have a nuclear weapon, hear him say over and over and over again, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Number one, because the CIA put the regime that is there today into Iran for that particular reason, to cause a whole lot of destruction and chaos and disorder and endless war conflict, to feed the deep state's bank accounts, because they profit off all the conflict, all the war, all the destruction. They profit off of all of it. So that was the first reason, because the Bush administration is done. George Senior Bush is dead. George Bush Senior is dead. He's gone. Alright, so when he's gone, all stuff has to go, because he's no longer controlling anything any longer. Nothing this guy says is valid anymore. None of his systems are valid. They're all obsolete, so he's got to go. He's gone. Alright, number two, it's the first phase of stepping into a new consciousness, when the United States government meets with extraterrestrial intelligence, which they have done many times, the first thing they say is, if you want our help with your healthcare systems, with your technology, with your society systems, with fundamental order, you have to get rid of the nuclear weapons. You have to get rid of the nuclear weapons. We can't trust you or help you if you have a nuclear weapon. If every country is armed to the teeth with a nuclear weapon. Why? Because the nuclear weapon is something that blows a hole in reality. It literally distorts reality itself. You're not supposed to mess with an atom, right? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to fuck with an atom because that's a fundamental building block of everything. If you do that, everything gets destroyed. You create a rupture that's very hard to close. Okay, so that's the main thing about why Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, because they're the ones who would literally use it. They would use it. Like all the countries now are not going to use it. They're not going to. And this is like the biggest lesson to why we shouldn't have nuclear weapons at all. Because guess what Iran has done in the past? They did 9/11. Before that, they were involved in Desert Storm. Before that, guess what? They literally took over Iran itself. Iran was a Persian country. They were not a Muslim country. They were not. They were not that. Recently, they just killed like 42,000 people in a weekend, right? And they lied about it. Okay? So Iran is in serious trouble. They need serious help. What I personally believe is they need people to step in and actually do a coup positively and not install a puppet regime that's going to create all types of senseless destruction and war and nonsense and conflict for profit for a deep state organization. There needs to be a coup or some type of military operation to get in and arrest these people and get them out. So every time Trump goes over to another country, his motive is to bring in funds for America instead of raising the taxes and creating all these types of insane obligations and restrictions on the American people like the previous administrations have. All right. So it was a very big and positive thing when Trump went over to China. So that was like the recent thing. It was like, you know, it was awesome to see because she was like showing Trump around like his private residence with like this amazing like Chinese garden that they're walking through. It's like awesome to see this type of stuff. It's like when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, wow, it's like the fifth dimension is actually starting to manifest. Because if you can get a guy like Xi to actually show up and be friendly and actually like say he's going to start doing the opposite things, eventually the opposite things will start to happen. They'll eventually start to sway more into positivity because they see the positives that can take place if they actually start doing the right things. You know, doing the right things is going to start to look more lucrative to them because they're going to want to make more money, first off. Second off, they're going to want everybody to prosper more than they're going to want world domination and war. So, you know, it's like, it's a catchable wave. You know, it's like the Maharishi effect. You know, when you have someone initiate something, more people are like, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, that's a good idea, that's a good idea, that's a good idea. You know, let's all prosper. Let's all start getting into abundance. Let's all start agreeing. Let's all start getting along. Let's all start doing the right thing. Let's all stop deceiving each other. Let's all stop the wars. You know, let's all start being healthy. You know, all this stuff is happening because of Trump. You know, it's really because of this guy. You know, I hate to say it, but that's what's happening. It's just what's happening. You know, so it's like, you know, again, this is all for positivity. It's all for the new age coming in. Like, it has to happen, so it just happens to be happening this way. All right. So a positive thing that recently happened was RFK. He recently released a new program for doctors. As our beloved doctors who are supposed to be taking care of us and doing the right things for our health and not only be serving money, they being put into consideration to do the right thing. Because a lot of times doctors will prescribe patients any type of medications just to get paid for it, just to get paid. That's it. Doesn't matter if it's the right thing, doesn't matter if there's a better treatment, doesn't matter if it's good for the patient. They're prescribing all types of medications because they get bonuses the more medications they prescribe and give out. So RFK, who's like the one of the positive people, so what he's doing right now is he's actually paying doctors to get people off unnecessary medications. He has a program now to where it's called like the declassification or something program, to where when a doctor has a patient who he does not necessarily need to prescribe to any of these big pharmaceutical companies, and he can prescribe something that's holistic or something more healthy to the patient, he gets paid for it. So that's a positive thing. RFK, he's here, he's in it, he's out here, he's doing the work. He's one of them ones, guys. He's one of those people who actually stand up for what's right and does what he believes in, and will continue to do so and continue to fight for us. All right, that's a huge win. He's done a lot of other things, which is why he was a very good presidential candidate. Yet now he's proving, why he's in office. And one other thing that happened is Tulsi Gabbard. She recently, as soon as she was brought in as DNI, Director of National Intelligence, she had to go and seize the documents that, classified the JFK shooting, the Martin Luther King shooting, MK Ultra, all that stuff. She had to go in and seize those documents, Russiagate, Obamagate, all that. She had to go in and seize those documents and take them back so she can actually start reviewing them and start putting together litigation for these things never to happen again, first off. Number two, prosecution. And number three, to bring awareness of those events actually taking place and actually being true. Another thing was COVID. The COVID documents were, which was obvious. The most recent thing, which is obvious, which is what the Biden administration did, that they were lying about for years, put everybody through a miserable hell for 4 years. So all those things, like, she's responsible for handling, which is a huge responsibility, and she was another amazing presidential candidate who's proving herself as loyal and a fighter and a very good asset to the freedom of humanity. So she's been doing that. So one thing that happened recently is like, there's a huge news story saying, the CIA went and seized all those documents regarding all those things back. Tulsi Gabbard, out of Tulsi Gabbard's office. It never happened. None of that ever happened. So Tulsi's still on the renegade path to bring awareness to these things, prosecuting people involved, and creating the litigation so it doesn't happen again, for the sake of global security, really, so we can all live, peaceful and prosperous, so we can have peace of mind and we don't have to worry about NSA doing crazy stuff, we don't have to worry about crazy coups, we don't have to worry about sick agendas being played out like COVID again, where, if you don't get this vaccination with Borg satanic cyborg things in the vial, then you're going to be forced to resign from your job, and you're going to be debanked from the bank you're forced to use. We're never going to have any of that again, because of people like Tulsi Gabbard. She's a veteran. She's somebody who actually believes in what she does, and she stands up for it, and she's there litigating, doing the things that everybody doesn't want her to do, who's involved with the opposite. So that was a positive thing to see, because I love Tulsi Gabbard. She's amazing. It's one of the things that you feel good about looking at, and you feel good about finding out that it's still happening. Because it's still happening, nothing's happening to stop that. So things are progressing and things are looking great. People still just underestimate what's going on and how important this presidency is. There's a reason why many people have been trying to assassinate this guy. You know, it's not because he thinks he's so important, he's so big, he's like that's just all just, you know, fluff. It's because like this is actually taking place, and if he succeeds, everything's going to change, guys. Every single thing is going to change. Like by the end of this presidency and the presidency after this, we could actually have like a cancer-free society to where there's completely new health care, to where you have holographic technology that helps heal your body and literally get rid of all sickness just as soon as it starts. You know, we can have technology that is 0 point, to where we don't have to pay for gas. You know, we don't have to pay for electric. You know, we don't have to pay for any of that. You know, all these crazy wind turbines show up. We don't have to pay for any of it, because free energy, 0 point energy, has been created multiple times and it's been shut down. And the inventions have been taken and they've been put into a vault underground somewhere, in a warehouse somewhere, and or destroyed. Same with the cures for cancer. People who cure cancer, their inventions, their knowledge, their discoveries gets taken, gets destroyed, gets put away somewhere. And that isn't all for a coincidence. Somebody's doing it and it's getting old. It's getting very old. So when somebody comes up and starts actually challenging the status quo and doing the things that will lead us out of this monotony and hostage situation, which is what it is, you know, ever since the bankers did their dirty deal when they sunk the Titanic on purpose and killed all the bankers who didn't want to sell everything off when they wanted something free and positive for the entire globe. Ever since that happened, you know, it hasn't been good. So the events that are happening now are going to reverse that, because if you know the Titanic, it was a sad story. You know, it was a sad story. Things are taking place for positive, for a purpose that are going to set everybody up for a good coasting into their later years. You know, like with the Social Security thing that happened, everybody would also always say, oh, Social Security, I don't get anything for it. It's run out. There's no more money for Social Security. Everybody's believing this lie about Social Security. So what was the first thing that happened when the Trump administration got back to the White House? They put Elon Musk on the books, and guess what they find? Oh, they were stealing all the Social Security money. They were stealing all of it. They have all these names written and all these dead people written, and they're receiving $500,000 a year, every single year. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of these people, and the recipient bank accounts are untraceable because they're black market bank accounts that cannot be found because they're on the dark web. You know, that money disappears. Not even Elon Musk, the computer genius who created PayPal, could not track these bank accounts because they stole it. The Democrats stole all the Social Security money for like 100 years. 100 years, they stole everybody's money. Everybody's. And then they found it. All right, they found it recently. That was the first thing they did. They found all those funds. And now what's happening? More and more funds are being generated into America's accounts so we can end the debt slavery. Because that's what the hostage situation is. It's a hostage debt situation. That's the only way to get rid of controllers who think they can control people on the surface of the planet and who think they can limit technological advances and the healthcare advances of the people, right? You have to pay them back. Because once they get their money, they don't have any reason universally to do anything to you any longer. All right? It's like dealing with the mob. If you owe the mob money, you gotta pay them, or else guess what? They'll never go away. All right. So that's what's happening when you see Trump going overseas and doing all these things. That's what he's doing. He's bringing in money for the United States because the United States is in major debt. Major debt. All right. So a positive thing that's happened is Jerome Powell, who was the Federal Reserve Chairman, has been relieved of office. Now, if you know who Jerome Powell is, he was the guy who ran the Federal Reserve, who refused to lower the interest levels on the federal debt. So if you know who the Federal Reserve is, the Federal Reserve is not part of the United States. They're not part of any country or any organization besides an outside banking organization. So basically, we can look at the Federal Reserve as negative extraterrestrials. That's basically who they are. That's basically what they are. That's what they represent. They represent enslavement, control, manipulation, and domination over all global citizens for the sake of money, for the sake of greed, for the sake of selfishness and destruction. That's what they represent. So the first thing, one of the first things that Trump did, one of the first things that the new administration did when they got in office is try to lower the national interest rates. Why? Because when you have lower interest rates, the debt starts to disappear. Right now, the interest alone of what the United States owes is more than what the United States owes in cash. So if you understand like loans and how that works, it's not good. It's not good. You know, say I think the total is like 37 trillion, and like 14 trillion of that is just what we actually owe. The rest of that, like 16, 17 trillion, is interest. So you know, it's not good. You know, so they've slowly been working on that. So Jerome Powell has been the person saying, no, we're the bankers. We deserve interest. We deserve to be controlling and manipulating and dominating every person on the globe, especially America. Like, you gotta go. So that's what happened. Jerome Powell is gone. There's a new Federal Reserve chairman in the Federal Reserve, and it's that easy. It's that easy, guys. Like, once the interest rates go down, the debt is incrementally eliminated. Okay? And once the debt is eliminated, the Federal Reserve is then dissolved. And now we have a sovereign state once again. There's really only one other sovereign state that's not in debt to the Rothschild organization of banking global cartel. That is Russia. Russia kicked the Rothschilds out of the country, and they don't want them because they know who they are. They're vampire Satanist pedophiles. You don't want anything to do with those types of people. Why? Because they will destroy everything that everybody stands for from the inside out silently. They'll say, oh, this is what you want. This is it. This is right. This is love. No, it's the opposite, and you're trying to destroy everything based off your backwards criminality and your twisted sense of enjoyment, which is actually destruction. Nobody wants any of that. Nobody wants this crazy stuff. Nobody wants their kids indoctrinated and groomed into some crazy, sick sexual agenda in schools. Nobody wants to be looking at this crazy stuff put into films and movies and passed off as it being normal when it's crazy, effed up Hollywood nonsense. Nobody wants to look at the Hollywood Gala and everybody, like dudes dressing in dresses and all this types of crazy stuff going on like it's normal. Nobody wants to see people mutilating their bodies and doing all types of stuff saying that it's normal. Nobody wants to see any of this stuff. None of it. Alright? None of it. Nobody wants to learn about critical race theory. Nobody wants to look at any type of racist baiting agenda saying, oh, these people this, these people that. Look at these people. They're victimized. Look at these people. They're victimized. Look at them. Look at them. It's like nobody wants to do that because it's a trap. It's actually a trap. right? When one group of people is magnified, there's usually some type of political reason behind it. Say, oh, sympathize with these people, because when you do that, our political agenda is then maximized. And we don't want you to see what the political agenda actually is, because it's not positive. It's not for positivity. So when you sympathize with them, that enables more war, more destruction, more domination, and more defeat of the human race. So keep that in mind when you see this stuff. Recently, Elmo was on Sesame Street talking about how he's adopting being Muslim. Elmo talking about being Muslim. He's like, Assalamu alaikum. I mean, yeah, it's cute. It can be very cute if it was authentic. Like, why would they be zoning in and magnifying, targeting children, telling them Elmo is now Muslim? Because they want you to sympathize with the Ayatollah. They want you to say, oh, the Ayatollah, he wasn't a bad guy. He only killed, 42,000 people in a weekend. He only treats women like they're subhuman. He only murders fucking students and blows up classrooms of women, little girls, for fun. That's all he does. Look at Elmo. So it's like, you guys gotta think. This is very crucial times we're living in. Use your own head. Think with your heart. View with your eyes and see with your heart. Because there's a lot of things that can deceive you if you're not aware. Alright, so peace and love. I love you. If you guys would like a session, I do sessions at quantumlight.org. I do intuitive reading, coaching, numerology readings, custom art. I do all of it. I have an organite line, impactleague.com. Check that out. I do a lot of organite totems and energy tools and all types of stuff. Clothing and gear over there as well. Check that out. And remember, when you guys are doing things and you're in your heart and you're zoning in and you're looking at the world, tune into your higher self. Ask your higher self what they think about specific people. What do they think about specific situations? What do they think what's actually going on? Chances are they won't tell you because they want you to figure out for yourself. That's the kicker. They want you to use your own head. They want you to use your heart. They want you to figure things out so you're stronger and you're more capable to take care of yourself. Alright? So when you're in dialogue with these etheric beings who want you to learn for yourself, ask smarter questions. Ask questions like, well, what do you think this person's motives are? Well, what do you think this person will get out of it? Then they'll say, which means look at their motivations. Look at where they're from. Look at what is possible. Look at what they may be feeling or thinking. Look at what they may want from a situation. Look at how they have been raised. Look at where they're from. They'll tell you to do all these things, all from the heart. Alright, so it's not everything's an open book. You have to go into things and you have to learn about people and you have to learn about what has happened and how far events have played so far. Because we're in the middle of it, guys and girls. We are here, we're looking at everything take place and get into order as things start to finally play out and happen for what they've been the entire time. All these wars, all these conflicts, all these situations, you're going to see who these people were. Were they good or bad? Were they good or bad, Or, was it a positive thing or was it a negative thing? Like COVID, was that a positive thing? Were the vaccinations positive? Or right now, is Fauci still on trial for showing up for generating the virus and intentionally releasing it and having something to do with this new virus that was recently released? Is he still on trial for that? Think about it, So think about these things. These are important. Peace and love. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, it's me from the future. As I was recording and editing this video, some more breaking news was just announced. They just indicted Raul Castro of Cuba, who is Fidel Castro's brother. from the 60s. This guy's like 94 years old. He was in power in Cuba for a while. If you know anything about Cuba, they have nothing over there. They have like no access, barely any access to any electricity, barely any access to any water, any food, and just the infrastructure is just totally and completely gone. Why? Because the Cuban government takes the funds for infrastructure and they pocket it. They literally just steal the funds that are supposed to go to bettering the country, and they just take it for themselves. That's a communist country right there. That's what communists do. And if you look at Cuba, that's a very great example of a communist state that is doing it exactly as it was designed to do. It's not healthy. It's not a positive thing. Communism doesn't help anybody, guys. So they just recently announced they're going to indict this 94-year-old man who is the ex-president of Cuba to get him out of the country, to expedite and free and liberate the Cuban people, because they deserve it. Because Cuba is a territory that's close to the United States that has been oppressed, and that has been a territory that has been needing humanitarian aid for a long, long time. The crimes that this guy is being indicted on is shooting down a humanitarian plane back in 1996 when there were people fleeing the Castro regime out of Cuba into the United States. As you know, that was a huge immigration effort because Cuba was awful, still is awful today. As the plane was scouring the area to help people in the water, this guy, Raul Castro, gave an order to shoot down the plane. And on the plane were 4 Americans, and unfortunately they were all killed. So that was, blatant murder. So, in order to get this guy out of Cuba so they can renovate and free Cuba and liberate and help the people, they have to indict this guy on some type of legitimate charge, which he's obviously guilty of because the whole world saw it, so they can get in there and start a new government. That's how it's done. This is how it's done legally. Alright? This is not a ruse. This is not a coup. This is not an illegal maneuver. This is not a deception. This is what world peace looks like. This is what actual positivity and progression looks like. This is why the current administration is in office. This is what get used to seeing this. This is what is supposed to be happening. Because usually the opposite happens secretly. Positive governments are secretly overthrown by secretly fascist deep state governments, and then a deep state government is put into power secretly. And they make it look like something else. Up until this point, the opposite has been happening. It's been public. Things have been openly and widely publicized. It's obvious what has been taking place, and it's obvious that war is not an intention, nor is it a motivation, nor is it a promise or a want for profit or anything, for enjoyment, for anything, for vengeance, for revenge, for nothing, besides to help and free people. Okay, not for control, not for domination, not for power, not for anything. So get used to seeing this type of stuff happen, because this is the beginning of world peace. This is the beginning of liberation. This is the beginning of unity and oneness for the entire world, guys. First it was Palestine, then it was Venezuela, then it was Iran, now it's Cuba. I've gone through every single one of these and told you guys this. What in my second to last world update video, I said they're probably gonna do Cuba next. And guess what, guys? Cuba is now next. I always joke about how I'm gonna buy a Palestine fitted. I'm gonna buy a Venezuela fitted. I'm gonna buy I'm gonna buy an Iran fitted. I'm gonna have to buy a Cuba fitted because all this stuff is happening and all this stuff is actually like manifesting into something beautiful. Like once these events play out, all these countries are going to be free once again. You're going to see Cuban people dancing in the streets. You're already seeing people from Cuba in Miami and Little Havana, like they're already celebrating because they had to come to the country from fascism, from poverty, from communism, and they had to grind their way up to get their own rendition of the American dream. So this is a very good thing, guys. It's a very positive thing. Keep lookouts on things like this that are happening because it's happening, ladies and gentlemen out there. Ascension is here, awakening is here, world peace is here, and it's developing every single day. So keep your eyes open, stay safe, and do your thing. So if you like these videos, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It does take quite a bit of time to create them. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like effort to put it that I put in. And apparently, if I tell you guys to like, share, and subscribe, rumor has it for the YouTube algorithm, it gets you more views and more impressions for more people to see it. So just take a second, just hit the like. If you haven't subscribed, you want more of this, subscribe. Also, if you are inspired to share this video, also go ahead and share it. All right. Thank you.